Welcome, everyone. We'll wait a couple moments to ensure we get all the attendees in.
And just so you know, I am recording this, so it will be available probably next week.
All right, I guess we can get started. Just a little housekeeping up front is this is a training, so please feel free to ask questions throughout along the way. Either raise your hand or just unmute yourself and ask the question. And, with that, we'll get started. So this is the product enhancement training, which is essentially it's a market launch for the Viper HV extended controls. It is not a complete full launch of a new product. We're just enhancing our current portfolio. So annually, we are going to try and do all these releases right around this time. So you will most likely see an annual event of this kind doing the training on it right before DTEC. So that way you can review the information, have it available for you right before conference season starts for us. So this particular project, the strategy here is we're going to grow the Viper HV product line. Our sales on the Viper HV, and over the past few years, some of the roadblocks to sales have been relay choices, has been a big concern or a roadblock to growing the Viper HV. So we want to accelerate adoption by being able to provide the relays that the customers want. We have heard that the transmission departments have specific relays that they have to use. So we've implemented this project so that we could integrate 3 new relays during the project and to be able to create a quoting process so that additional relays that are requested can be investigated and looked at and determined whether or not we can quote them within the quoting process versus having another project. And the projects are much bigger, take a lot more resources, and are a lot longer in process, right? To be able to provide that option to the customer. So the control project has 2 deliverables, 3 new relays, and the quoting process. So the 3 relays that were added are the SEL 411L, SELT 401L, and the Ingeteam Ingapac EFLD. So this slide shows the capabilities of each of those relays and what they look like. This matrix is also available on the website today, so you can the idea here is that you can look for the feature set that you're looking for and choose the relay that you need. Okay. So what changed, what didn't change in the control design? So we made no changes to the Viper HV mechanisms, the wiring, the cabling, the mounting, all that stuff stayed the same. We used the existing cabinet choices, of which there are 3. There's a bulletproof design. There is a smaller cabinet and the standard design. The standard design allows for us to put multiple relays in the cabinet. So that is essentially a baseline product that we're going to just use different relays within. So no changes to the swing frame, replacement of the new relays here. Depending on the relay configurations, what you have, you will have multiple test switches or single test switches if you have a single relay design. The outlet is still a universal outlet, so no changes were made to that. No changes were done internally to the power drive module or PDM. We do have an additional VSAM or voltage sensing amplifier. So the outputs of the voltage sensings within the Viper HV are low energy analog outputs. So if the relay requires high energy analog inputs, we have a amplifier to bring those low energy levels to high energy levels. So depending on the relay will depend on whether or not the voltage sensing amplifier is included or not included. So all of the new relays have a new wiring kit. So the wiring kits and the wiring harness are part of the design for that particular relay. So the SEL411L was integrated. It has traveling wave fault detection relay and protection. Most of the products on the market are traveling wave fault detection, not just protection. It comes in a 5U rack mount. So one of the primary requirements for a relay that goes into the Viper HV control cabinets is it must be a rack mount package. So the 411 has non-LEAs, so we required a voltage amplifier. And of course, you can always use an RTAC with this relay. The T401, sorry, let me go back. The 411L has traveling fault detection. The 401 has fault protection. So SEL is the only relay on the market that I believe that can do traveling wave fault protection. It comes in a 3U rack, again, non-LEA input, so we have an amplifier. And it must always be a secondary control. So the primary control, and if you have a T401, it has to be the secondary control as far as protection goes. We also implemented the Ingeteam Incapac EFLD. This is a line differential relay 4U rack mount package, again, non-LEA inputs. Any questions so far? So the configurations, if you choose a dual relay Viper HV control package, you must choose one of these 4 relays as the primary. The primary relays must have a 79 element. So they all have to have a reclosing element, which is why these are the primary and then these are all the secondary. So in a nutshell, you can have a 651 and any other relay or gateway as the secondary IED, same for the 421, same for EFLD. The 411 must be either a dual 411 or a 411 and a 401, or a 411 and a gateway. So that was the first deliverable, was 3 new relays that are available today to be quoted. The second deliverable is the process. This picture is not intended to be able to be read and find out that, or be able to see what all that process is. This is internal to G&W, so really doesn't affect your quoting process, but just wanted to show that there was a substantial amount of work done to determine what that process is, and so that we can do this going forward. So the point of this is that we will be able to determine if we can quote it and approve the quotation as of the new relay that we haven't integrated yet as part of the natural lead time of the product and the quoting time. So going forward, we will not need another project to integrate a new relay, GE relay, ABB relay, Schneider, whatever. So what this has done, though, is the quoting time will substantially be longer. So we want to set our expectations with the customers that if we have a new relay that they want to use, that we haven't integrated, the quoting time will significantly be longer because we do a partial design within that quoting time. And part of that partial design is to design the wiring harness, because we have to order that wiring harness, how much lead time it is to get the parts, build a bill of material so that we can define an accurate quote and an accurate lead time. So the lead time or the quoting time is going to be longer. The requirements for any new relay is it must have a reclosing element. It must be 125 volt DC, 125 volt DC IOs, must be rack mount, and needs screw terminals. So those requirements really define what relays we can and cannot integrate into the Viper HV control package. So we will be asking for this information. A specific relays MOT or configuration needs to adhere to this. If it doesn't, the answer is going to be no pretty quickly, because we have a complexity level that we are also determining during that quoting process. And the more of these things that are outside of the required, then the higher the complexity gets in the design work. And when we get to too complex, the higher the complexity, the more engineering resources we need to be able to develop that solution. And those are new product development engineering resources. And there are a lot of new product developments underway. So the management would not allocate to take those resources away for a relay integration. So we need to stick within those guidelines. What is your process going to look like? So this is really, we did this in a way that should be very much the same as what you're doing today. Should be very standard. All of the processes that we are done, we have kept them internal. The biggest item is to manage the customer expectation right away, that this quote would take much longer than others. It's much more complex. So relay model, specifications, application details, size of opportunity. We need to know all that information to be able to determine if this using this process is a good use of our resources. So send your specifications, describe the project, log the opportunity in Salesforce. At that point, the AE and TPM will review all of that information, come back to you and see if there's any more that is missing, and they will start to the process internally to determine if it's quotable. If it is, then we will go through, we will notify you that, yes, we can quote this. And then from there, you're going to be expect a 6 to 8 week lead time from that point forward to when the quote is actually issued. Again, we're going to do a bunch of engineering during that time. It's not that it's just sitting to be looked at. It's a significant amount of work has to be done to, again, build a bill of material, determine the wire harness, and contact those vendors, set those vendors up so we can purchase the products. So there's a lot of background work that goes on. So once that is done, then the quote is issued, and then the PO is submitted to us so we can order it and get it into production. Any questions on the process or the expectations? Okay, I'll take silence as a no. So again, expect from us, you will have pretty routine conversations or emails and contacts with the FAE and TPM. So after the AE and TPM determine eligibility, then the FAE gets involved, and the FAE will be expected to do internal meetings that will go through, it's called a TBR, and that after the TBR is when the quote is accepted. It is accepted that we will quote it, and at that point, is when that notification will come out to you to express to the customers. So again, quoting is now available for the new control options, the 3 new controls. Tacton has been updated. It has not been turned on yet. It will be turned on next week when the actual release occurs. And the framework is in place for quoting integration of the future relays. All right, the next step is the marketing aspect.
Okay, so the GWI has been updated and is in ETQ. It is in the process of being translated into Chinese, Portuguese, and Spanish. And as soon as those are available, I will let you know. The brochure and playbook are now available. The brochure is on the website. It is a complete redo of the brochure. Everything. The content, the ratings, images, everything is updated. Sales playbook, everything has been updated. It is now on the sales portal. We are working on the sales presentation that should be done in the next couple of weeks. As you see the note, the Chinese, Portuguese, and Spanish brochures will be added soon. I'm just waiting for one person to provide additional information on the translation to make sure that it's accurate. We also are doing some social media posts promoting the additional recloser relays or relay controls, whatever you want to call them. So you should see these posts coming on our LinkedIn page in the next few weeks. Kind of promoting, we're really reinforcing how we can keep the grid powered, grid performance. Also, print ads, RE Magazine, which is the cooperative magazine for the NRECA. We have ads in January, which are promoting DTEC as well. February promoting our booth at Tech Advantage, and April promoting our booth at IEEE. T&D World, we have January for DTEC and April for IEEE. So again, just trying to keep reinforcing how important the Viper HV is to both utilities, co-ops, and then C&I.
So I put this slide in here so we have a very good idea of what our cost targets are, or our pricing targets are. So 250 to 280, this price that you see here is what the cost of one control, one relay within the packages. So if it is a dual relay, it's going to be, for instance, 2 650-1s, it's going to be $40,000. So that gets us into the 280 range. Right? If it's a T401 plus a SEL411L, you're looking at 59,000 on top of that, hence the higher price ranges here. So the controls are very expensive. Gateways can be very expensive. We have one gateway that was almost $20,000. So just so you know, when they go to dual relays, the pricing does go up substantially. We can look at pilot pricing for customers. Again, our objective here is to accelerate the Viper HV acceptance into the market, get pilots going. It is a very long sales cycle up front. Then they get a pilot started. Then there's a trial period before they will fully deploy that product on their grid, right? They want to try it out first. They want to know that it's going to work. So we can be aggressive on the pricing to get pilots going. All right, so this is just fundamental applications, where to use a Viper HV. The number one place that we want to go after is your taps that are using switches, whether they are a manual operated GOAB switch or a motor operated switch, a MOAB. in every transmission network out there, they use these switches on taps, and those switches don't get operated much. They don't go through a lot of maintenance. So when they go to use them, they stick, they have many mechanical problems. So they are a perfect place for us to put this at a minimum as a switching device. Better yet, use it as a recloser to protect that tap. So these are fundamental recloser applications that we want to point the Viper HV at. So tie points, taps, sectionalizing, your standard reclosing process or sales use is what you use a Viper HV for. There are some other niche applications, substation retrofits, circuit switcher replacements, but your big seller is getting those switches replaced with Viper HVs. And again, we have flexible configurations. We will, as part of an HV sale, we will go through and ensure that the mounting of that device is done according to whatever installation they want, whether it's a phase over phase, staggered phase over phase, cross arm, horizontal H-frame, horizontal mounting, lattice towers. We're doing designs for those. So we do have experience on that. We can help the customer figure out how to mount this to their structure in a way that is going to last and work correctly and give you the installation that you need. For instance, if it's a hurricane area, we have Hurricane 4, Category 4 designs. So don't be afraid of how they want to install it. Really, the only thing that needs to be done is needs to be on a dead end structure, whether that's a pole or a lattice tower. And that's simply because you need to put a bypass switches, and bypass switches have to be connected to line that is dead ended. Any questions on installation, flexibility, our ability to customize the solution for their installation? All right, so in summary, we have updated controls that we can offer, the 411, 401, EFLD. We can support future controls per the PO through the quoting process. Aftermarket is the same. They have been trained on the new products. They are available and ready to support you. The marketing literature, collaterals all been updated. The website's been updated. GWIs are updated. Tacton is updated, and the controls are quotable now. And that is all I have. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Andrew, thank you
Andrew,
much.
do you
This is Juan Castaneda. Really quick, will you make this slide deck available? I know it says confidential, but I would just, okay, very well, thank you.
The slide and the recording from tonight will be on the sales portal probably sometime late next week.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Elizabeth.
Sure thing.
Thank you.
Andy, do you have a sense for what a realistic number for a pilot would be?
If it's a single relay,
Sure.
single relay, probably 230.
Okay. I think you had mentioned this as well for relays like the 401L that don't support LEA inputs. Is the Viper still equipped with LEAs and then a booster is used?
Correct. There's a voltage sensing amplifier that's installed.
Okay.
Andy, is there any room for radio power supply by the end user for our Viper?
explain a little bit more. I mean, the shorter answer is pretty much no. The PDM, power delivery module, is the power supply within the HV control, and it has 3 separate power supplies internally, one for battery management, one for the unit to use, and it's also the interface to the Viper HV. So there's really no room to change that power supply.
S- if the customer wants a radio, IP radio, which is a wireless one, so
There's
if they want to,
enough outputs. There is an output out of the PDM to be able to supply power to a radios.
okay, that would be great. Thanks.
Yeah, so it's an auxiliary power supply output from the PDM to be able to do that. I believe it's a 5-watt, 24-volt PC. I'd have to look for the specifications to know exactly, but I'm pretty sure that's accurate.
Andy, speaking of specifications, I think that will be done and posted next week as well, or the end of the following week, correct?
Correct. I forgot to mention that as part of our
That's okay.
collateral that we were redoing, as we are remaking the customer specification guide. And that, again, I just need to put some more information in there. That the document is for your use to give to the customer so they can write their standards around the Viper HV. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, what are the lead times on the HV right now?
Good question. I haven't looked at it. 36 weeks. They're lower than the other products.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure 36 weeks is accurate. Any other questions?